It's early morning, and light begins to awaken worlds created by the human imagination. There are journeys to be made here, just for the asking. Adventures into the calm of Eastern spirituality. Or into the excitement and beauty of 19th century Paris.
Michigan Avenue will be opening in 3 minutes.
Journeys back into biblical times. Or to a far simpler America than the one you have known. You might want to imagine the eerie tales of a pre-Columbian storyteller. Or the power of African masks and sculptures. Or wonder how a knight so burdened with steel could fight anyone. When you wander through a museum, at every turn, you're brought face to face with a fresh way of seeing the world that is not your own. This, for example, by Claes Oldenburg.
And we're going to do a little drawing of it.
Some people might think a clothespin of any size is out of place in a museum, but this particular clothespin can help tell us what art is often about and what museums are for.
We'll try to keep these drawings real simple because we're going to do some other drawings with other objects in a little while. Very good. Oh, those are very nice, Daryl. I like your details. It's sort of like a puzzle.
First of all, for the moment, our normal frame of reference dissolves. These visitors have found themselves in a different world. In this case, the land of the giants. It's like seeing a clothespin for the first time.
How did it make you feel when you were doing that, when you were looking up at it and drawing it?
It made me feel small.
It made you feel small. It made me feel small.
In a way, art is like that. We look at an object created out of someone else's imagination, and for one brief moment, we enter a world very different from our own. And from then on, it becomes part of what we are.
Does it remind you of anything now? You can look at me and look at the clothespin. Christopher?
It's like a tunnel. It looks like it has legs.
Like it has legs. It almost looks like a person, doesn't it? And Oldenburg wants us to think of those kinds of things when we're looking at everyday objects. He's trying to transform them into something else to make us look at them in a new way. Well, what we're going to do now, we're going to transform some everyday objects. I've got a basket of objects, and you're each going to have to close your eyes and reach in and pull something out. Okay. And maybe, you remember we said how when we looked at the clothespin after a long time, it started looking like a building or like a person. So as you're looking at your object, it might start looking like something else.
Museums try to put all these worlds and all these adventures into some kind of framework. Galleries may exhibit paintings or sculpture grouped according to the decades or centuries during which they were created, such as the 20th century or some other period. Organized like this, galleries would include very different ways of seeing and presenting the world by artists living in the same general era. The strength of a museum's collections often determines how its art is best displayed for the benefit of visitors.
That much of a clue, but do we know what kind of a figure it is? If this is a reclining figure, then do we see arms and legs? Use the charcoal in different ways. You can take the charcoal and lay it on its side and get real broad strokes, and they're going to be fairly light. So you see the charcoal can really do a lot of things.
Sometimes the works of artists who perfected a style of painting are shown together, like the Impressionists and Post-Impressionists. Or, separate galleries may be set aside for the art of particularly well-defined cultures. Plan your visit the way the collections are organized, if you want to, but don't feel bound to do so. Don't plan yourself into losing what counts here: the feeling of adventure, the emotion, the sense of going beyond yourself and entering someone else's imagination.
Now again, I'm going to end on the gravestacks by reading a comment of Monet, who as he was
Museums have all sorts of ways to help you see and feel the riches that lie within their walls.
He writes, "I am grinding away, but the further I go, the more I understand that it is imperative to work a great deal to achieve what I seek."
We've already seen one at work. Here is another. Bernardo Martorell's painting of St. George killing the dragon is rich in detail.
And this is St. George, and he's come on this charging white horse to defeat.
Close observation can pull together the elements of a painting's story and deepen the first impression you get from it.
How do you know that the dragon has been fed things, and what has he been fed?
Probably human.
Probably human, I maybe. So, what else has he been fed?
Other animals. Look on the bottom.
Other animals to look on the bottom. Well, where are her parents? They should be very concerned about this horrible circumstance.
Probably in the castle watching.
What has the artist done to make you think that the king and the queen are far away?
Made it smaller.
He made them smaller.
You could make many journeys observing details of paintings you believe you already know very well. You may be surprised at what you didn't really see before. This painting is rather dark, but it's certainly rich in detail. And the young pickpocketed work suggests there's more going on here than a display of food. Still, food has always been a favorite subject for artists, and a tour through images of food in art might be called a feast for the eyes. Exploring the way family life has been presented through the imagination of different artists might make an interesting trip. Or perhaps the most interesting of all, a journey into the human heart. Including the hearts of the artists themselves.
And those shells were worth a lot of money.
The pleasures that art can stir in us are as varied as our capacity to be interested.
Sarah, why do you think the man
Every work of art speaks to us in an individual way on its own terms,
shells might break?
but it was created by someone at a certain time and place,
They would be very valuable.
and it reflects something of its maker, its time, and its place.
If you were in the Cuba people and you had a lot of those shells, they certainly would make you rich because they were very prized. And what's making that bell sound on that mask?
The eyes.
The eyes, those bells in the eyes, are making that sound. We're going to look at one more thing. Which is
These
right
children
over
are
there.
learning interesting things about the lives and customs of the Cuba and Bamana peoples from the masks and headdresses they made and wore.
Wear to represent Chihuahua, who gave them the gift of farming. Well,
Chihuahua was a kind of mythical antelope man.
powerful man, and he worked very hard. And
He gave the Bamana people the gift of farming, and he wanted the Bamana people to work hard, like he did. But they became very lazy.
They would plant their corn, but they would forget about it. The corn would grow and fall and rot.
When Chihuahua saw this, he became very angry at the Bamana people for neglecting the gift he had given them.
Gift. And in his anger, he dug himself deep into the ground with his very sharp claws. And he hid until springtime, deep under the ground. And when spring came,
And when spring came, the Bamana people planted their seeds.
and the rains came, and the sun came up, and the seeds began to sprout. But Chihuahua, who was still very angry, who wanted to
But Chihuahua, under the ground and still angry, looked up, saw those seeds starting to sprout,
and he grabbed at the roots of the corn and pulled it down, one by one, until the entire field of corn disappeared under the earth. We are going to create a headdress or a mask that has different animal parts. Someone had a favorite animal. Sarah, your favorite animal was?
A horse.
Some paintings prompt us to ask ourselves, who are these people? Are they real? Were they ever alive?
It looks like a dream.
Like this one, for example, Toulouse-Lautrec's at the Moulin Rouge. Visitors curious about the artist and his background find Lautrec's work filled with people he knew, as well as people he imagined.
What is that supposed to be? A fancy restaurant? Because they were
Fancy? Yeah, it does kind of look fancy. It was a very popular spot in Paris. These are friends of the artist. In fact, the artist is even in the painting. He's right toward the back, right behind this group of people. These ladies were all entertainers and dancers. They were friends of Toulouse-Lautrec's. And see how they've just come off the stage? That lady who's fixing
Her hair is called la goulou, because she would finish the drinks left over. This lady up in front is, that face is really shining there because the lights from the stage. She'd just come off stage. So all these people are celebrities and friends of the artists.
Most paintings in galleries have labels with information that can deepen appreciation of the artist and the work itself. Some people are more comfortable with details about the work or the artist before they do any serious looking. That's fine if it works for you. Others like to look first, react to what they see, and then gather in that kind of information. For them, background information about a painting or sculpture may hinder them from seeing and reacting to it on purely artistic terms.
Living with that,
These visitors, looking at Caillebott's Paris, A Rainy Day, seem to be doing just that.
And, I couldn't feel like you just walk into it.
Yes, you can. You get that grand sweep of those cobbles.
Right now, they're attracted to the way the pattern of buildings and cobblestones draws them in.
It's wonderful the way you can look down at different streets, like star-shaped intersections.
Yes.
And how the artist has created the illusion of rain.
The sense of the light, the rain's falling all over the place, but you don't actually see it.
But that little earring that she has is...
Yeah, maybe it was the last stroke of paint.
The extent to which we can discover things in the painting, as well as things outside the painting, like background information, can only add to the adventure.
Yet it makes it seem as if we're on the street with them. You know, like we're going to get bumped by these people that are coming toward us with the umbrella.
Sometimes people can't seem to agree on things. That can happen.
Oh, that must be a Turner.
People have their own interests, backgrounds, and ways of looking at things. Some like to visit museums with a friend or two. Some prefer to go alone. For others, the difference may not be all that important. Going with a friend does have certain advantages. Two people can see more than one and talk about what they see. For example, Dutch Fishing Boats by William Turner includes a small detail that could easily be missed.
You know what? I think there's more ships here than meet the eye. Look, wait, if we count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a lot of them. Oh, look at that one in the background.
I never
Doesn't it look
even saw
different?
that.
It's different, isn't it? It's got
Looks
a
like, you know what that is? That's a steamship.
A tiny steamship.
Oh, well, what a neat painting.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Dutch Fishing Boats was painted in the 1830s, and this allusion to the recent invention of steam power adds layers of meaning to this moment of sea drama. In any case, be flexible. If you go with someone, you might want to separate from time to time to make your discoveries privately. You can always arrange a time and place, pick up where you left off, and finish your visit together. But making your entire visit alone, if that suits you better, has its own advantages. By yourself, without anyone else to influence you, concentration may be better, and reactions can perhaps be more individual and personal. Picture framing, special exhibits, the arrangement of artworks, and the placement of sculpture in a gallery, all this work is carefully orchestrated so that every work will be displayed to give the viewer the most pleasure and understanding. But looking at objects that are similar, flat, colored surfaces, one after the other, for a day or an afternoon, or even a few hours, that can finally become tedious. Taking in too many similar sensations in a relatively short time can create what is often called museum fatigue, and we've all felt it at one time or another. Usually at that point, the more paintings we look at, the fewer we really see. Our eyes begin to glaze over, and the images start running together. There are immediate remedies for this, of course. Shift gears. Change the pace. Change the scene. Have a cup of coffee or a soft drink. If sheer hunger has added to this momentary fatigue, have a meal. Find a different setting to wander through. Browse in the museum shop. Or just get off your feet. Other strategies may block museum fatigue altogether, but if you're already tiring, they'll help focus your attention and wake up your eyes and mind again. What these things do is compel you to really examine the object. Sketching, for example. Try it, even if it's amateurish or just plain bad. Drawing forces you to really see what's there. Seeing, not a fine sketch, is the point. Isolating the painting and examining details to help you see can be done with the simplest devices.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to show you a different way of looking at a painting. Okay? Now bring this close to your face, close to your eyes. What do you see? You see the whole picture, right?
Yeah.
Okay, as you bring it farther out, you see a smaller part of the painting.
Yes.
Okay. Does that look like another kind of painting too?
Where?
When it's framed? Just look at the three fishermen.
Yeah,
over there.
yeah. Yeah.
All right, what do you see when you move towards the boat? Move it towards the boat and see.
This looks like another.
Yeah, another kind of painting. And if you bring it closer to your eye,
I see the
not
whole
not that close, a little bit closer towards your eye, you see the rest of the boat, the other boats. See it?
I see everything.
You see everything now. Now you see everything because you bring it closer to your eye.
Yeah.
Okay. But bring it out. Okay, what are you focusing on now, Christopher?
I'm focusing on the three men.
Okay. What about you, Alexander? We're focusing.
I'm focusing on those three boats.
The three boats. Which part of the painting do you prefer now?
That little house down the road.
Oh, okay.
I like the big church there.
Do you prefer seeing the whole painting, or you like to see it?
I like the whole
Different
village
parts.
actually.
Oh,
I like
Yeah,
seeing
I do
different
too.
parts.
make you appreciate the painting better, huh?
A camera does much the same thing. And if equipped with a zoom lens, even more. It can isolate the painting and its details completely and allow you to explore the largest painting closely and examine the smallest details that interest you. Or, if your eyes tire from looking at the two-dimensional art of painting, turn to three-dimensional art for a change. Staying alert means not missing the little surprises or the big ones. In the rich worlds a visitor finds in a good museum, surprises are not the exception. Surprises are the rule. Like exploring a strange city. You turn a corner or pass through a doorway, and there they are. They may please They may perplex. They may frighten. Small wonder, since you are on a tour of the imagination, expressing itself in many periods of human history and many cultures. Some familiar, some less so. We step into the room of someone else's imagination. We may be stirred, or we may not. Vague feelings may turn into understanding. We may learn, we may discover.
Very nice job. We're going to talk about those in just a couple of minutes. Put it on. That's what they call it. There's a space where?
Right here, right here.
Could you just tell me how you would act if you were wearing that headdress? How does an elephant sound? What's so special about a rat? Button here. Those big horns. And where are those horns on that headdress that you would use to fight?